Welcome to another episode of Dashboard Dialogues. Joining us today is Travis Wise, auto industry expert, car aficionado, jack of all trades, and overall great guy. Make sure to stop by and see Travis and the rest of the Dealers Link crew at Digital Dealer, October 11th through the 13th. The booth number is number 323. We're going to be right next to cars.com. We're back for another episode of Dashboard Dialogues. Today I am joined by Travis Wise, our resident car expert, all-around great guy. Travis, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent. Thank you for having me, Jake. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about what's going on in the market. Values obviously shifting, things going on, hurricanes ravaging inventory levels in certain parts of the country. Travis, what are your thoughts on what's going on currently in the market?
Currently in the market, I think there's a big buzz that there's something bad going on, and I believe that everybody's really missing the boat, that when there's a big shift in the industry, that creates a lot of opportunity, and it's the glass is half full or the glass is half empty mentality. When I see a large shift in the industry, whether there's a shortage of inventory from a national disaster or a shortage of inventory from some other disaster or just lack of manufacturing or whatever that is, I just see a lot of opportunity is what I see. And, you know, if you're moving iron, if you've been a car dealer, if you've been buying and selling and you're following the market, well, it's just going to be a market change. And one thing that's consistent is change. So when there's change, I believe there's opportunity.
Sure, absolutely. So how would you suggest a dealer capitalizes on the opportunity that maybe let's just use the natural disaster of the hurricane? How would a dealer capitalize on that particular opportunity?
Well, my view is that there's going to be a shortage of inventory in that region, all right? There's going to be a lot of damaged inventory. There's going to be a lot of rebuilt flood vehicles that are going to come back into the market, and that's going to affect the industry over the course of the next 5, 6, 7, 8 months until it starts to correct itself. So it's going to create a small influx of shortage of inventory. Florida is going to need to restock itself with inventory. So right now, as we look at it, the nation's sitting with a lot of vehicles that are starting to depreciate, which I want to talk about that. A lot of vehicles that are starting to depreciate and starting to age on dealers' lots. Well, this is a huge opportunity to join together and replenish the dealers that don't have that opportunity, that don't have that inventory. So as those vehicles age here and they're not moving, well, this market now is starving. It will be starving over the next 6, 8, 9, 10 months of rebuilding and replenishing the destroyed vehicles. So there's a lot of opportunity there for the dealers that have stuff that's sitting and aging.
Sure, absolutely. You mentioned depreciation, right?
Oh, yeah. So, you know, we have kind of a crystal ball here at Dealers Link watching vehicles. We have vehicle trajectories. You know, I already know what vehicles are going to be, you know, what the finance advance is going to be for next month. But everybody's like, the market's really, you know, coming down on these cars. Well, let's just take the average $20,000 car. All right. The average $20,000 car like escalated to $28,000 to $32,000. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now that escalation has happened very quickly over time. But when we come back to the market and that $20,000 car is now depreciated to $25,000, are we really facing a huge depreciation drop when it was a $20,000 car in the first place and now it's still worth $25,000?
Right.
Is this a reckoning, or is this just the market adjusting like it used to always adjust as cars go through the system?
Right. Sure.
So is it really a big depreciation when it appreciated 3 times that amount forward, right, and now it's coming down 1/3?
Sure.
Like, is that a disaster? Is that just creating more opportunity and time to rotate that inventory?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not. I think people get scared of the big number. You know, $2,000, $2,500. Oh my God, $2,500 is gone off this vehicle come the first of the month. There's finance is just gone. It's evaporated. But they're not looking at the last 12 to 18 months of appreciation where that vehicle has gone through the roof. And so they are still sitting in a good position. And I don't think that it's a need to completely freak out, but it's something to pay attention to 60, 90 days out, that kind of thing. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree with that. The 60 to 90 days out, in the market, I know for a fact, and I can prove that the live active value of a vehicle lasts for about 7 to 10 days. Okay. So it used to be, as a 30-day window cycle, 60-day window cycle of price change, depreciation on vehicles, and things like that. Well, that is reduced now to 7 to 10 days. And that is essentially pushed to the table from the race to the bottom. Sure. Trying to use price instead of quality, service, what you represent, your community. Instead, you've abandoned all of the culture of, support the community, support the local stuff.
Right.
Repeat referral buyers. Let's just keep working our people. Let's take care of them in service. Have them come back for all the reasons they give us the profit and they want to do business with us. We've started this whole focus of dropping the price to get a car deal, to get a lead, and you don't really you don't see a benefit from that in the rest of the departments. And I think that reckoning's really coming to the table.
Sure, absolutely. Do you kind of going back to the natural disasters or just the shortage of inventory in general? We are starting to see new inventory levels are not returning to normal, but they're getting a little bit larger. The allocations, the truck shipments that are coming in, things that are on the ground are actually more plentiful. Do you think that incentivized options for customers, the rebates and things like that are going to come back a little bit stronger here as we go through this Hurricane Ian situation? Because back in, was it 2018 with Hurricane Harvey, they did something very similar. The manufacturers came in and actually allocated a little bit more inventory towards those dealers that were dealing with shortages that lost that inventory. Do you think we're going to see that with Florida with the shortages that we're currently having right now, or is it going to be some other type of situation to help the people of Florida out, so to speak?
The dealers, I haven't really thought about that, but just as you say it and I process that in my mind, there just isn't a whole influx of inventory right now new. So are they going to try and probably help them out as they have in the past? Yeah, but in the past we've never had this situation. Correct. This is an anomaly that nobody's ever really dealt with. The thing that really is going to push the incentives and push issues out on the table is the interest rate. All right. So sure. When you look at an interest rate and all of a sudden you're looking at a vehicle and the average price is $40,000+ across the board. All right. So all of a sudden your finance rate and everything goes up, the payment amount goes up, the amount of term on the vehicle goes up. So when you're looking at it and all of a sudden you're looking at whether you're going to buy this unit or not, and that rate is going to cost you $300 or $400 a month. And it doesn't matter if you're in a depressed area, in a disaster, or where you're at. That's when the manufacturer is going to come back. They're going to try and carry their own paper, is what it's called, Sure. GM Financial, yeah. Ford, this, that, the other. They're going to try and carry their own paper. And they're going to try and reduce that rate to the consumer and carry that rate at a lower number to stimulate more buying power.
Correct.
If I'm paying a payment and the payment on the vehicle is $1,200 a month, and I know $450 to $500 of that is going straight to cost of ownership, why wouldn't I just rent?
Right.
I mean, all of a sudden it's a real problem. So then that's where the lease comes in. That's where the programs come in. And I really foresee the manufacturer doing that for Florida, doing that for those areas that are depressed from a disaster or whatever have you. That's what they'll incentivize. And that's the thing that needs incentivized is the rate is what's really stopped and slowed the purchase of vehicles, because customers are like, okay, so now they feel like I'm going to overpay and now I'm going to have overrated. So the joy of buying for pleasure
right.
instead of necessity. So now everybody's out there buying only under necessity. I'm going to wait until I see what the market does. You know, my Ford F550,000 teen Raptor thing is going down in value. So I'm going to wait until the interest rates change, until the market changes, until supply isn't so bad, or whatever those things are. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, absolutely, it's good insight. For sure. I think manufacturers are going to end up doing something for the specific areas like Florida or any other area that were to suffer, just like they have in the past. But what can they actually do? I mean, it can't be sending more inventory when there's just no inventory to send. So bringing up the interest rates and bringing that stuff down is definitely it answered my question for sure.
Good.
So.
Good.
And kind of speaking more so with new cars, it's also one of those things where Ford is having some further issues with inventory and things like that. Do you think that we're going to continue to see this situation where things start to get a little better and then they scale back a little bit? Or do you think that at some point we're going to break out of this cycle of inventory shortages to this extent, and we're going to start seeing a little bit more inventory showing up on dealers' lots?
I think you'll see inventory start showing up, but I really think the franchise has never been in a position like this they've never had this opportunity. Sure. Usually they have a panel of people that have, $5 million, $10 million, $15 million, $25 million worth of purchases that they're doing.
Right.
So if you have $5 million worth of my vehicles that I sell, manufacture, put out into the market on your lot,
right,
and I buy another $15 million, $20 million a year of those vehicles, and they're sitting out front, well, you really want to hear what I have to say, because I'm now the $25 million player on the table.
Sure.
Now, if I don't have the cars to supply you, and you're mad at me, and now I'm in charge, now in the first time, you need something from me.
Right.
You're not in charge. I'm not trying to get you to buy my inventory. All of a sudden, they have a leverage they've never had.
Oh, it makes sense.
That opens up a whole new bag of trouble.
Sure.
Because now you're, instead of, begging to figure out a way and get help to remove the problem, which is the aging car, you're trying to beg and figure out how to get me as a manufacturer to sell you a car, so you can facilitate your customer. And that gives power back to the franchise. That gives power and opportunity, a change. And a change that if you want a car, you're going to face and you're going to adopt. You want to deliver vehicles, if you want to service my cars as a manufacturer, you're going to adopt some change.
Right.
Especially if you want that inventory, because I have that special piece that you can get $90,000 at gross.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
And that's going to change the mindset of the market, and that's what they're facing. The associations, that's what they're facing. The panel for JD Power, NADA, all these folks are facing a frontline battle.
Right.
Literally, to get inventory so they can facilitate their customers. Well, now that inventory's stopping. So now as a manufacturer, I need to figure out how to get you happy again, buying the cars that I am manufacturing to sell to your customers that have a need besides luxury, besides prestige. Because now all of a sudden that's an extra $10,000 a year. An extra $10,000 a year beyond what you're used to paying. So
right, absolutely. So, in speaking with new cars and things of that nature, do you think that most manufacturers are going to take the lead from Cadillac and Ford, where you're essentially going to be put into a position as a franchise dealer that, hey, if you want to go this route, like, you got to be all in. You've got Ford having different tiered programs. I think the buy-in on the top tier is $900,000, $1 million, something like that, for being able to sell EV vehicles. And then there's the lower tier. It gives you a little bit smaller allocation, but essentially it's $25 per year. Or you can just not do it and be just a regular dealer like you have been, that kind of thing, not an EV dealer. Do you think all manufacturers are going to go that direction, or do you think at some point we're going to see this EV trend kind of cool down? Or do you think it's just going to go through the roof?
I think the EV trend is on its heels. I think Tesla's stock is going down for a reason. I think the whole facade that, you're actually saving a tree or a turtle or something like that, or doing something special for the ecology, that, they've now, the world now realizes that your electric car took more to build as far as carbon footprint, emissions, energy, power, recyclability. I mean, everybody's, the veil has come down as it, come on. Typically, this is how it goes. All right. Somebody's got a plan. Hey, we can say we're saving gas because we're burning electricity. Well, you're burning other stuff that's way more lethal, way more dangerous to the environment than gas. Okay. So once the veil comes down, everybody has a perceived perception that it's a chip shortage manufacturing issue. No, they're still manufacturing chips. They just sold them to somebody else because you stopped buying. That's for real. That's why our washing machines and our refrigerators are smarter than they've ever been. Because they took all the chips from the manufacturers. Because I'll tell you what, I'm a chip manufacturer. You aren't going to buy my millions and billions of dollars worth of chips anymore. I'm going to sell them to somebody. That's going to happen.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get my deals. I'm going to get my sales. I'm going to keep my job. I'm going to make a difference, okay? So that's kind of the conundrum that you fall into, is they just haven't really engaged in it. And I think that the EV thing, as we go and people really realize that a hybrid is actually the teeth of it, We're not going to be able to really kill out fossil fuels, period. We can't go fully electric because these batteries, I mean, you start a fire with a battery, the thing burns until it's done burning. It doesn't really matter what you do, how much foam or whatever. One of my good buddies is a fire department guy. You go into the service drive, and now these guys have to have this big wood swimming pool hook in case their buddy over there working on the EV starts getting electrocuted so they can knock them off of it.
Oh, wow.
All of a sudden, the handling of the vehicle is the danger is way higher. The recycling is way higher. The carbon footprint is way higher. I don't want to get political, but this is silly. It's silly. So are you going to be forced to sell EVs? Yeah, you're going to be forced to sell EVs. It's coming down the pike. Should you spend the $1 million if you got it? Probably. Otherwise, they're going to take the opportunity from you and give it to the guys that can. And we know how that consolidates, where the big get bigger and the small die.
Exactly.
So, and that's what they want to do. If you were Ford, and you could sell just as many cars with 1,000 dealers as you do 1,500.
Oh, no brainer. I'd go with 1,000 dealers.
You'd go with 1,000 dealers. It's just like sales guys. If I can create this, generate the same results and pay 50 guys and HR 50 guys, instead of 100 guys HRing 100 guys, 100 cars, 100 credit cards, 100 computers. I'm going to go that route. I'm going to take the strongest 50 and I'm going to try and cream that to the top and get all my results through them. They're double happy. Everybody's double happy. So that's what you're seeing, is the squeeze on the little dealer right now. And that is that squeeze. You got $1 million, you saved your money, you did it right. Well, then you can come play with us. You're a big boy. You don't, you're going to get a scrap. And you're going to keep fighting. And it's going to get harder. And that's what they want. And that's okay.
I mean, it makes sense.
That's business. Capitalism, baby.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Let's get it done.
That's the American.
But that's going to create squeeze on the American people. That's going to create squeeze on the economy. Those 500 dealers. I looked at the Denver Valley thing. They put a statistic out, and it said that, what was it? There was 480,000 employees at franchise dealerships just right here in the valley.
Just in Denver.
Not all the region, just in Denver. And those employees make an average of $87,000 a year. So from the guy in the wash bay putting a little sticker on the back of the car to the GM bouncing the store and getting every department running, there's an average of $87,000 a year. You extrapolate that over 500,000 people. All right, you lop 1/3 of those off because you close those stores and push that business to the other ones. Well, they're starving for deals anyways. They don't need more staff. What does that do to the economy?
I mean, pretty much.
That takes 150,000 people making an average of $90,000 a year out of that job, and they either have to go get a lower paying job on average or replace into a different job. So when you touch the American economy, you're really touching a housing industry. You're really touching a banking industry. And the biggest industry on top of those two is the
auto industry.
Sure. So that's why the cash for clunkers. They came out with the cash for clunkers because they knew as economists that if they changed what they were doing in the automobile industry, they'll change what's fundamentally going on in the economy.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So what they learned from that, and what I learned from that, is really all that did was change the book values.
Sure. It was artificial.
It was artificial,
It really
so it changed the book values and
Right.
dropped the value of all these older cars, got them off the road, got everybody to buy.
Mm-hmm.
More efficient cars on the road, lower the carbon footprint, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
Sold it. Everything sounds good.
Yeah.
The problem with that is once you change that economy, what's that going to extrapolate into? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So now we've raised the interest rates where people that are kind of, if they're buried in their car after they just got done in the last 2 years overpaying for the $20,000 car for $30,000.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now they have to stay.
Mm-hmm.
They can't play again.
Right.
So what goes on is that level. So the inventory people are missing, Jake. So everybody's talking, we don't have enough rental cars, and when they're coming in, they're high miles. We don't have enough lease returns. They're worth more than the lease return. We don't have enough manufacturing. We don't. Well, here's the secret. You know what's going to fill the industry with vehicles?
What's that?
Repossessions.
Voluntary and involuntary. Because you're going to have people that will inevitably look at themselves in the mirror and say, I can't do this. Here's my car back. And then there's going to be the people who just don't pay. They get it repossessed. Or the lease returns. So are we going to see higher lease returns? Are we going to see people seeing values coming down and realizing that the positive equity that they may have had 12 months ago is slowly evaporating? Are they going to get rid of that vehicle because they're afraid that it's going to be worth less than what the residual is? And that's another piece to that puzzle, right?
That's a real fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're spot on.
All right. Well, as we wrap up the show, obviously, I would like to thank you for your time and your insight. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Give us a tidbit of what you are looking forward to as we close out 2022 and get ready for 2023. What are some of the things that you are hoping to see or looking forward to see?
Well, I'm looking forward to see the industry dive in for efficiency. All right. What we do is efficiency.
Sure.
We provide the dealer community efficiency. So as things tighten, the guys that are willing to change are going to be the ones that find more efficiency. If you're willing to change, as the opportunities change, your results will change.
Right.
And you'll make more money.
Sure.
So I really am looking forward to the dealers that stay off their heels.
Sure.
That participate, that still buy cars in an economy that is moving. Because if you know that 7 to 10 days is your window to move the car before the price starts changing, you start losing money and you start being active and participating at that speed in the market.
Sure.
You're going to find efficiency. You're going to make a ton of money. You're going to grow and you're going to be safe.
Sure.
So I'm excited to see the dealers that come out, engage. We're going to Digital Dealer.
Yep.
This is going to be great, where all things are digital. The money's made in the car business on the walk around and on the buy. When you buy the car and when you do the walk around. All right, that's digital. That's all done digitally these days. So I'm really excited about Digital Dealer. That's going to be amazing. And I'm excited going into the end of this year and into the next year that the car business is going to get back to normal.
Right.
That people are going to have to really do a good job advertising their cars, marketing their cars, having their content correct. The walk around starts online.
Sure.
And it's just going to create efficiency in the
Absolutely.
market. And that's what I'm excited about.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for your time, Travis. Again, Dealer's Link will be at Digital Dealer, booth 323, next to cars.com. If you are in Vegas, October 11th through the 13th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Please stop by the booth, number 323, next to cars.com. Travis Wise, thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today for another great episode of Dashboard Dialogues. You can follow and listen to Dashboard Dialogues on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Also, remember to follow our socials on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.